But the real value in this AI technology is when we allow it to connect the things on its own. And I think in 2025 is when all the experiments are going to start. People or businesses or entrepreneurs are going to give access to that fundamental operating system layer. And then we'll either have really good things happen or really bad things happen.
Welcome to GeekWire. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop. We are coming to you from Seattle, where we get to report each day on what's happening around us in business, technology, and innovation. What happens here matters everywhere, and every week on this show, we get to talk about some of the most interesting stories and trends in the news. It is our first show of 2025, and I am excited to welcome our first guest of the year, Patrick Husting. He is the entrepreneur and software developer behind a plugin and really an app called Ghostwriter AI. Patrick, it's great to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I think this is my fourth time doing this with you. I love it. Am I the winner?
I think you might be the most frequent recurring guest.
Yes.
And Patrick, it's in part because you're doing some interesting things, but you also have an interesting perspective on the industry because of your experience and also because of what you're doing now in the realm of AI. So let's just start there.
Okay.
For people who have not heard our past conversations, can you give us what Ghostwriter is in a nutshell?
Sure. A couple years ago, I created Ghostwriter. It's an add-in for Microsoft Office. It started in Microsoft Word and then went to Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. And basically, I was the first AI add-in inside Microsoft Office. So I beat Microsoft and any other third-party developer out there. And almost 2 years ago, in a couple weeks, it'll be 2 years ago, where you pushed publish on the launch of that product. And because of that, at that time, it was like SpaceX's Starship. Off that sucker went.
So you launched the product. I merely wrote about you launching the product at the time, but I will be gladly likened to a spaceship. I don't know about an Elon Musk spaceship right now, but at any rate, keep going.
Oh, I'm going with that because when I watched the downloads from around the world, and it was around the world, when you press publish, it was like 6 p.m. And then that night I went to bed, right? And the next morning I got up, whenever an order comes in, for any of my apps, it texts me on my phone. And so I pick up my phone, I'm like, you have 200 messages. I'm like, what? And so I'm looking at this and it's just showing order after order after order. I go, oh, this is crazy. So I jump on my computer and all these orders are flowing in. I go, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Oh no, I have to generate manual keys for each one of these because I wasn't smart enough to automate it, because I thought maybe I'd sell two. As I'm writing the code to automate this, on the other side, I'm trying to fulfill orders that are coming in every 10 seconds for 3 days. And I didn't sleep or anything like that until I could automate that process. And then for the next 6 months, it was the wildest ride that I've ever had in software for 30 years. It was the best thing ever.
Okay, a couple of key points for people to know. First off, you are a solo entrepreneur.
Solo entrepreneur, just me, myself, and I.
So this is interesting in part because one of Sam Altman's predictions is that we will eventually see a single person unicorn, a company valued at $1 billion or more. I don't think you're quite there
that would
yet.
Be awesome.
So that's one of his predictions. And I don't think you're there yet on the unicorn angle. But I think what you're doing demonstrates that possibility in that you can build a company that's meaningful in this era with just one person.
The AI technology, when we first talked about it, I think you asked me if it was going to go Skynet on us. And that was when we were first playing with it, right? I'm like, no. And now when I think about it today and what's going on, yes, it's going to be amazing and it's going to be terrifying at the same time.
So I want to explore that a little bit later on as well. But Ghostwriter is effectively a sidebar in different Office applications. And the difference between what you're doing and Microsoft Copilot, for example, is you get to tap into different large language models.
Yeah.
Different forms of AI, everything from Llama to OpenAI to everything else that's out there. I'm wondering, based on that perspective, what kinds of trends you're seeing among users among the different models and whether some of those insights can be extrapolated into interesting observations about the larger market?
OpenAI definitely has the brand for AI. So when everybody mentions AI, it's always ChatGPT. So when my customers buy my product's really different, right? I'm not charging a monthly fee or anything like that. I charge a one-time fee, which is basically a fraction of the cost of a Copilot or Clippy 2.0, or getting it directly from OpenAI or Claude or Grok, right? I just enabled Grok inside Microsoft Office, which is awesome. Actually, I think Grok is amazing. 2.0 right now is amazing.
So you just enabled it?
Yeah, it's been there. I enabled it December 10th.
Okay.
And I had it out there for a 3-week test with my users. I gave it to them free. And the results are it takes in a lot more information, and the output is less robotic. So if you notice that with OpenAI, when you use OpenAI, it's always the same voice, right? And I think what's happening is everybody's using it now. So all the content that you see generated, it all sounds the same. There's no personality, no interest. Ghostwriter allows you to fine tune style and tone and stuff like that to make it sound less like that. But I can see Elon and his efforts with Grok, and he's got like 3.0. I think they just finished processing, which is amazing because they just launched 2.0. His is very personable, which I actually kind of enjoy, plain and simple. OpenAI, when I use it, I feel comfortable with it and my customers feel comfortable with it because it's comfortable. It's an expected outcome every time you use it.
Kind of like the IBM of AI. Nobody's going to get fired for using ChatGPT.
Right, exactly.
Maybe you're less likely.
Analogy.
Yeah.
Anthropic. I find attorneys really love Anthropic. At least in my side of the world, I have an edition for attorneys, Ghostwriter Legal. And they always pay the extra subscription. I charge $100 for connecting to those other models a year. So there is a subscription there. When you buy Ghostwriter, it comes with OpenAI and 4.0 models. And then if you want to turn on Grok or Anthropic or any of the other ones, or Google's actually gotten better. It's $100 a year, which is still way cheaper than they do it. And that's just because I'm using third-party AI or their APIs. And my usage is in Office. And so people aren't using that every day. They're using it for Gen AI, creating content or working on content, or researching it. So their usage is more now in Office, but less because they don't have to do a lot. It's kind of interesting. When you're in ChatGPT, you just keep asking it all kinds of crazy things and the usage goes up. It's kind of like Sam's post the other day, right? Charging $200 a month for the premium ChatGPT experience, and they're losing money on it because everybody's using it more.
Yes.
I'd really like to know what they're using it for.
So, but you're not seeing that necessarily in terms of productivity applications because it's sort of a finite usage pattern.
Yeah, you're not going to use it every day.
People come in, they want to rewrite a paragraph, they want to have the ghostwriter generate a paragraph for them. It's in the sidebar and it does it for them. They're done and then they move on.
Yeah, Paul Thurrott, right?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. So it was really fun listening to one of his podcasts. He's kind of like the angry Windows guy.
Yes.
He's so fun.
I love Paul.
Yeah, he's great. And
Windows Weekly on the Twit network for people.
Yeah, that's what I was listening to. So him and Leo, you always remind me a lot of Leo.
Oh, that's a little scary.
Paul was griping about how when he starts a document, Copilot would come up immediately. Oh, hey, you aren't working on a document. Right. And it just pissed him off. It was so funny. He goes, what I want is I just want it on the right-hand side. And I'm thinking, well, that's Ghostwriter. Yes. Ghostwriter is there when you need it. It's not going to bug you to do stuff or anything like that. So I find a lot of the case, I have a lot of people that are writing books, right? Writing fiction or nonfiction or whatever. And they're telling me what they're working on or struggles with, or how can I do this with AI? And these people that are writing books, like they might highlight 3 or 4 paragraphs and say, how can I explore this deeper? And in my app, you can fine tune it and say, be a writing coach. And then in the comments of the Word document, it will actually, the writing coach will tell you how to improve those 4 paragraphs. Blows your mind.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And so some of these people are just, this is a lifesaver to me. So my usage or my business case scenario, I'd like to think that, I was at home and I was brainstorming and I thought all this up. Nope, it was all an accident. I stumbled upon, I think, the perfect niche in Microsoft Office, and I think I provide a great experience with AI for the best price, period, end of sentence. I kind of use Microsoft's old tactics back from the 90s.
In what way?
Well, you remember when they were doing DOS?
Yeah.
Right? And so you could buy DOS from IBM for $219 or something like that, but you could buy it from Bill for $40. So did all the same things, but it was cheaper. Yeah. And so maybe I'd like to think I took that same philosophy. And I can say over the last 6 months, I've got a lot of Copilot users. And it's always kind of fun to ask them, why'd you switch? They all say the same thing. It's annoying me.
Okay.
It doesn't work like I work.
All right, this is great. Coming up, though, I want to talk a little bit about what this means for startup founders, entrepreneurs, and where we are in the evolution of AI and this whole world of generative AI. Welcome back. It's Todd Bishop. We're catching up on the state of AI here to begin 2025 on the GeekWire podcast, and we're revisiting with Patrick Husting. He is the entrepreneur behind the add-in for Microsoft Office called Ghostwriter AI. Patrick, for people who want to check Ghostwriter out, what do they do? Where do they go?
Well, thank you. The easiest thing to do is fire up your favorite Office app. You click the little add-in button and just search for Ghostwriter and click add. There's a short trial there. You can give it a shot. There's a version called Autopilot. And that version there is your ChatGPT experience that everybody kind of likes and enjoys. That will embed in there. You can actually use it free. And then after a certain number of uses, I have some nag screens in there in the text. That edition alone has been installed over 1 million times.
Jeez.
It blows my mind. I've never had anything. That was my last checkbox in my career. Was I always wanted some app that like 25,000 people used.
Yeah.
And so for that first year, I really never looked at any of the statistics, right? And then I log into the Microsoft Office portal, for the apps or for the add-ins. And I click on that and I go, what? And at that time, I think it was like 700,000, between all the additions. And I just did the numbers today, and it's 1.6 million installs of the Ghostwriter add-ins.
Wow. So you were obviously benefiting in part from the fact that you were early.
Mm-hmm.
Is there still that opportunity to have these kind of viral moments for software developers in the realm of AI right now? Have we passed that wave, or will there be further waves to come? Like, where are we in this evolution from an entrepreneurial perspective?
I'm the man who just loves really bad software ideas. I've had so many in my career, and I followed many on GeekWire. And but are we too late? You're never too late, because you don't know what those opportunities are. In my 30 plus years of selling software and creating software, I've created over 30 commercial apps. I would say 15 of them were successful. Successful means they actually made money. Yeah. And they led to maybe an IP acquisition where I just sold the IP, or like the last company I had, Extended Results, sold the whole company, right? And so you just never know. I think you have to be strong-willed and really go for it. But this last 6 months, I know we exchanged some emails a while ago, and I mentioned that things are changing, right? I was making fun of Clippy, I think, in one email, but the jobs are going to change, right? So if I was a business analyst in a company, if my title actually said business analyst, you're toast. I truly believe that. I think a lot of these roles will be replaced with these agents, right? Today we see these custom agents we can build on OpenAI, and you're just giving styles and tones and act like Todd and write an article.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. But when you listen to Benioff, when you talk to him.
Yes.
And Agent Force, so funny. I think of Space Force, but Agent Force. And then you listen to Satya and his interview that he had the other week or whenever that was on how the application layer is leaving, and you're going to take out the app, 3-tiered development. And you have 3 layers. You have your presentation layer, you have your application layer, and you have your database layer.
Yes.
So the middle layer, the application layer, where you contain all your business logic, is gone. And
replaced by AI, effectively.
It's going to be replaced with these AI business agents.
And just as a brief interjection, that interview that Satya did was on the BG2 podcast with Brad Gerstner and Bill Girdley. I'll link to that from the show notes. That was one where I listened to it and I kept rewinding to make sure I understood exactly what he was saying, because it's getting into some of this lingo that I don't actually follow, but that's a whole other issue.
Satya is down in another world with lingo. Going back to where are the opportunities, there's lots of opportunities. And I talk to a lot of people who have really bad ideas, which I love. But any idea, it's not, 3 people in a room like we are right now, and we're, discussing this, and we're going to brainstorm the next great idea. I don't think that's really a thing in entrepreneurship. It's always something very personal to you. So like even the horse app that I have, the equestrian app, that was something that was really personal to me, and I needed that. And I couldn't find something that I liked. I did find 2 out there that looked like they're written by horse people, right? They don't know anything about software. And so I created something for myself that everybody in the world's using. Awesome. Ghostwriter was the same thing. I was doing research-related topics on my horses, health stuff, and I couldn't understand the medical terms and explains it like a 15-year-old. And I said to myself, this would be great in Office. And then I thought, well, Microsoft's going to do this someday. It's going to take them a year because, they got 200,000 employees and they're all playing a management game. So I can beat them, which we did, right? And
which you did.
All right, well, yeah. Well, you clicked the publish button.
Leave me out of it, Patrick. Leave me out of it.
But, I think the best ideas are things that are very personable to you. And thinking about what the future of software development is, and I don't even know why I'm thinking about it, right? I should be thinking about retirement and riding my horse out into the sunset, right? But I love software. I love ideas. And so as I see AI, when Bitcoin was really hyped, and everybody's excited about Bitcoin, and I couldn't understand it. When I look at AI and where we're at today, and probably in another 6 months, we're really going to freak out, right? Everything we've been doing for the last 25 years, we're going to throw away. I really believe that. I think the challenge is, I have a son that works at Google. He's awesome. He's an interaction designer, so he does a lot of UX research and whatnot. And I've been trying to pick his head on what the future UI is. So how you interact, it's toast. So going back to Benioff and Slack and Agentforce, and I have my digital employees. Did you see that in the Slack presentation?
Yes.
And you have your real employees, and I'm completely digging that. But our agents are going to become many agents that are going to be out there interacting. So my only way to describe this is 2 ways. One is the video game League of Legends.
Yes.
And so you're playing this game, you're controlling all these characters, and you're sending them up there to battle, and each one has different properties, and they're doing stuff.
All these different agents, yeah.
Yeah, if you think like, what is Lucky Palmer's company? Anduril, the military company. So he's doing all these drones. So you're going to, you have drones out there, you got communication devices, you got drone submarines underwater. So what is this interface that you're going to manage all these drones, right? And the drones are nothing but agents. And so how does one person manage a field of 25 or 50 objects? Do you follow me there?
Yes.
Today, the United States military, when they send a drone out for battle or surveillance, there's 5 guys or women managing that drone, 5 people. And that's because the software is not there for it. So the AI enables us in near real time to manage thousands of objects, right? So imagine that on your desktop as you're working through your daily workflow. It might be a set of tasks that you're working on or articles that you're researching and responding to emails. And you're going to have all these agents working in conjunction with each other, right? And then it's reporting this back into your interface in real time. What is that interface? Whoever figures out that interface is the winner.
So there are still opportunities out
huge.
there for innovation, not just from the tech giants figuring out these things and how the UI, UX is going to work, but there's entrepreneurial opportunities in there.
Yeah, if I could give any advice to entrepreneurs, one thing as I always kind of say to them, stop thinking you're going to make $1 billion idea. Just stop that right now. Think about how you can create an idea yourself or with another person and put something out that's maybe in a super niche, right? Because the $1 billion idea is already being focused on by Microsoft and Amazon. They got thousands, tens of thousands of people doing this stuff. You'll never compete in that space. But I think with AI, it really unlocks your potential to compete with those big guys, right? In different flavors. So the whole thing about SaaS, leaving, I think so. But yeah, that leads into the scary discussion. What happens at the desktop? So for us to have this multiple AI experience on our desktop, we have to give it control, right? So on your laptop, it needs access to your files, to your database, to your other things, so it can find things and interact in real time, not just go to a website and summarize a web page. This has to be able to interact with actually physical devices or databases or control systems or drones flying around, right? So I read this great research article today. I'll send it to you because I just read it before I came here. And so they took the smartest AI for chess and they put it up against OpenAI's thinking model. And they gave it access, I guess, like on a Unix system or so, and it has access to the underlying core operating system. And they told each one the same set of instructions, play to win. And so the chess-focused AI is unbeatable, right? So what did the OpenAI one do? It cheated. So what it did, this is what the scary part is, because it said, we want you to win. So instead of beating by strategy, it was updating the underlying play files to win. It was cheating. So now think about that as we unleash it into our control systems and stuff like that, right?
You have to be very careful about the instructions you're giving this, Hal.
Yeah, Skynet. It is literally the Terminator.
Yes.
When you read that article and the whole breakdown of it, you're like, well, we really can't connect it to control systems yet, but that's where the value is, right? And it will displace, blue collar workers, I think they're good. I think it's the white collar workers that are going to get a kick in the butt.
All right, Patrick, this is great. When we come back, I want to circle back around to Microsoft Office and this whole notion of Clippy and the return of Clippy and sort of how this is all shaking out in terms of the integration of AI into our applications and into our lives. That's coming up next. Welcome back. It's Todd Bishop. I'm here with Patrick Husting from Ghostwriter AI, getting a sense of the landscape for generative AI and artificial intelligence more broadly as we enter into 2025, 2 years into this thing.
I know, it's amazing.
It really is. All right, Patrick. So I thought of you over the holidays when a story emerged in the Wall Street Journal about something Microsoft is doing in Australia and some Southeast Asian countries where they're bundling Copilot in with Microsoft 365. And they're doing it in a way that people actually have their subscription prices raised.
I've seen that.
Yes. And they, in fact, compared the interaction with Copilot in Office to Clippy 2.0. And I immediately thought of you because I think, Mark Benioff, as we've been talking about, he uses that comparison. But I think you might have been first.
I was first.
Yes,
I was definitely
to compare
first. I think
Copilot to Clippy.
Yeah, I did a post on LinkedIn with Clippy in it because that's what it was becoming. Because that's what I was hearing from all my customers.
So what does that tell you bigger picture about the way that people want AI to be integrated into our products? Because a big part of what Microsoft is trying to do here is be smart about it, right? Predictive. Oh, this is the moment when the user would want to use the AI, as opposed to leaving it up to the user to remember. And it might not be as natural right now for people to think, oh, I want to use AI at this particular moment. Like, how do you strike that balance in the world, in the products, and in what you're developing?
User usage, I can see it in the analytics on the website. on the Microsoft Office partner website, they have an Insight tab. And when I first released it 2 years ago, I was really worried about the cost because what's a token, right? Or 10,000 tokens is going to cost you 10 cents or whatever.
It's this abstract unit of measurement, basically, that you didn't really know what it would be or what it would cost at the time.
Had no idea. So when I first released it, you had to have an OpenAI API key. And then after watching it for a month, watching the usage of it inside Office, because they actually can track when people open it and stuff like that. And then I see it on the other end with calls. People were only using it so much. So for me, because I'm a solo developer and marketer and, the owner of all this stuff, my costs are really low when I implement this. And in the Microsoft developer framework out there, they also give you access, to OpenAI essentially free within Azure. They give you a certain amount of compute for free. So for me, it's easy to afford a lower price and have people using it whatever that they use it. But, everybody at Microsoft, most likely their bonuses are tied to usage. And so those people need to hit certain usage numbers to get their bonuses and stuff like that. Plus you have a large organization of people that have just read, got their MBAs, from college, right? They've never really built a product before. They're just part of a big machine. And I think in those big machines, you don't always get the best ideas. You end up with a bunch of people just getting a line going forward.
So they're optimizing for maximizing the usage of Copilot, not optimizing the actual user experience.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's where somebody like you, whose motivations are not for your next performance review,
no,
you basically want to do what you can to get out and ride your horse in the afternoon.
Exactly. This Ghostwriter's been a dream for me, right?
Yeah.
So 4 hours in the morning or so, I'm doing some customer support, handling the orders, maybe writing some code, deploying an update. And then in the afternoon, I get to have a little bit of fun. I think the big difference in Ghostwriter that I've never had in any software that I've created in the past is the viral nature of it. And it wasn't because of a social media post. That'd be great, right? But it's actually one person telling one person and telling a couple friends, all centered around one thing, and that was customer support. So I got people that will email me and I'll respond to them within 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they'll respond back on, "Oh my God, you're real." Because they don't expect customer support from a tech company.
Right.
If you send an email to people, but if you send an email into Microsoft support or Amazon support or Google or whatever, you'll never get a response, right? Just try to find it on Amazon. And then in Meta, forget about it. You don't know where that is. And then OpenAI never responds. You get to talk to their AI that doesn't have connection to a database.
I've actually had some decent luck if you go far enough into the bowels of Amazon's website and you find the actual chatbot and then you get transferred to the real person after the chatbot doesn't work. I've actually had some decent luck with Amazon stuff.
You are the ultimate geek who has a high level of patience to go down those rabbit hole of links, unlike anybody I know.
Okay. Well, no, there's other people out there, but okay. All right. So one of your add-ins, if I'm not mistaken, is for Microsoft Outlook.
Yes.
How does that work? Is it mostly a content generation app?
Yeah. So when you compose or respond to an email, you can just click a button and it'll read your email and respond. And it's frightening how perfect it is. I did a demonstration to a room full of attorneys, and they were buying Ghostwriter Legal, which is the Word edition, and they wanted the Outlook edition too. And there's this one guy in the back of the room who's totally skeptical of AI completely. And he says, I'm gonna give you an email here. So he sends me this email, and it's pages and pages of responses. It's him going back and forth with another term, blah, 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 blah. And so I go, okay. And he goes, I go, what do you want me to do? He goes, reply to it. Okay. So select it all, reply, and it writes it. And this guy leans in, reads it, and then he sits back and he puts his hand over his mouth, and he's going, that's 95% of what I would say.
And it probably was better because it had the full context of the thread.
Within seconds.
Okay. What I want and need, and I bring this up in the spirit of, I hope somebody solves this from an entrepreneurial perspective because I want it as a user, is true intelligence over my entire inbox.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that there's been different efforts out there, superhuman AI and all these things. In terms of stuff that's accessible to me and that I've tried, I haven't found the magic solution to, what I want is, and I keep saying this, I want the first part of the movie Her before it got creepy. I want this assistant who is reading my incoming email, flagging things for me. Hey, by the way, that thing that you meant to respond to 3 days ago, you haven't responded to. And I know that there are versions of this in like Google's reminders and that sort of thing, but there's nothing truly AI intelligent yet. I want it.
You have to, well, going back to my conversation earlier about the OpenAI thinking model cheating, you have to give it access. So in this new UI, UX paradigm that I was alluding to earlier, you have to give it access to your file system, right? And you have to allow it to index everything. And do you trust it to do that, right? Because in theory, if you're letting an agent continue to operate, today, you just ask the question and it responds. But if you could loop it and just let it listen and talk and do stuff, then it could have access to all that. And then it could be kind of freaky. If you don't put up the guardrails around that, it might give some flippant response on those emails. It's totally doable now. Could you do it in Outlook? Microsoft has this Office framework. That's what that little web add-in part or task pane that's there. I don't know when they architected that, 10 years ago or 12 years ago. I hope that guy was fired because it's really a bad architecture. But I can't crawl your inbox from that pane. If I could, in theory, I could do it, but it would be kind of slow because the AI's got to go through, I don't know, you've got hundreds of thousands of emails in there. So you just have to go through all that to respond.
Okay, so this is where I think Microsoft has a potential advantage long term when you look at the Copilot Plus PCs, and you're alluding to data privacy issues. And I know you're already making faces, but hear me out here. Because I can talk to you about, I tried a Surface Copilot PC. It didn't work for me from a hardware perspective. I'm now looking at some of the ThinkPad Copilot PCs, and I'm actually about to pull the trigger on getting one.
You are a geek.
Well, I've got to try this stuff. At any rate, to me, when you think about data security, the fact that you have that neural processing unit on device, that could be a game changer long term when you're talking about this stuff. And the catch is they don't yet have that killer application, that thing that makes somebody go, oh, I've got to have on-device AI. I don't think the recall thing is enough, the notion of a photographic memory. Some of the other tools aren't. But if you took on-device processing of your inbox and intelligence, like I'm talking about there, or instead of uploading a ton of files up into Notebook LM, which I do all the time, Google's Notebook LM, I mean, they're on folders on my desktop already. Like, why isn't Microsoft just allowing me to index and run some intelligence over that? So, long way of saying, I know we're poking fun at Microsoft and some of the clippy things, but they're in an interesting position as a company if they choose to do the right things for the right reasons for the user.
Yeah, I think, I'm a little bit older. So like if you go to my Ghostwriter website, ghostwriter-ai.com, one of the first words you see on the website, or two words, it says privacy first. And that's the real key with all this is Ghostwriter, I don't store any of your information. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're asking. I don't want to know. It could be scary, right? And so, but with all of that, you have to unlock it and say, do I want to store all of this at Google? Do I want to store all this with Microsoft? Do I want to store all this at whatever, right? No, I don't want to. I do want it local. And I am willing to run a local model, except it's just going to be too slow. But again, if I could run the model local, I still don't have the interface for all my apps. And there's so much opportunity around this, from another one-person individual like myself to a team of 50 to a team of 10,000, that this new AI in 2025 and 2026, 2025 is going to be crazy. 2026 is going to be, we can't even think of what it is today, right? I think Sam's saying we're going to be at AGI in 2026 was his last little memo. Really? So I want it local. I want it to crawl. my emails. What's really fascinating about this, because you're a dad, I'm a dad,
Yeah.
is if I could fine tune all my documents, I got terabytes of documents and emails and stuff at home, pictures and videos. Then all of a sudden, when I die someday, Dad GPT exists, right? I still exist. That's what we're doing, right? If you want that access up on your email, we have Todd GPT.
Right. I'm with you there. That gets into all other issues. And I do think you and I are somewhat outliers on some of this stuff, because I'll tell you, AI comes up as a topic in my house. Mostly, I'm bringing it up, and my 14-year-old daughter, who's otherwise very tech savvy and all into this stuff, she groans, and it's got a very bad. And maybe that's just me. Maybe this is not a good representative example, but for her, and I think for some of her friends, the whole notion of AI has a bit of a negative connotation at times.
Yeah, I can say that with my sons. They're all in their 20s, and I have 4 of them. And there's negative and there's positive. A lot of the negative, I would say, is around the modeling of the data so that it's accurate and fair, which I totally kind of agree with them there. And I have one that's a software engineer, and he worries about coding code. And so, when ChatGPT first released, when it coded for it, it was a lot of bugs, because I was using it to code for me and to create Ghostwriter. It was awesome. The code it creates today, so far, the last 6-7 months, is 100% perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll ask it to write a function. I'll be very specific, and I'll take that 20, 30 lines of code and I'll put it in there, and then I just integrate in the calls to it and the data that passes to it. And it works the first time. And if it fails, it's because I spelled something wrong when calling it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's freaky. So, I could see the kids they're using it. Well, maybe not your daughter is not old enough for her school and stuff. But, everybody I know, teenagers, late teenagers, and 20-somethings, they're using it. Maybe they won't admit to it.
Yeah. All right. Just to bring us in for a landing here, a couple times you've mentioned just how crazy you think this year is going to be in terms of AI. So what do you think 2025 is going to look like specifically when it comes to AI?
The technology is amazing. I think what's going to happen in 2025, this O3 model that they're already talking about, and the people that have had access to it are kind of freaked out about it from a research perspective, the amount of research that it can do, the amount of information you can put in, and the actual amount that it will give out. When you use it, you can only really put so much in and get so much out today, even though they say they can do a lot. This next model does a lot. But the real value in this AI technology is when we allow it to connect the things on its own. And I think in 2025 is when all the experiments are going to start, where they're going to allow, kind of like the chess example I gave you a little while ago, people or businesses or entrepreneurs are going to give access to that fundamental operating system layer. And then we'll either have really good things happen or really bad things happen, right? And right now, OpenAI, they're all in. I don't think they have any guardrails, anymore, right? The safety guy left. Well, actually, the whole leadership, we're all about leadership here. The whole leadership team leaves. So who's left is people that will do anything to win. So I think, when they finally plug Skynet into the network, it might get a little freaky.
And as somebody who's built a business and a new livelihood or extra livelihood for yourself around this, how do you feel about all that? Because, you're on the one hand optimistic, but also on the other hand, it sounds like you're, if not concerned, at least a little bit guarded.
I don't know. I've been watching a lot of the LA fire stories,
Yes.
So I might be a little doom and gloom today. But unlike you and I are like brothers, and that meaning we love technology. So even though, I'm a little older than you probably, maybe a wee bit, I love technology and I love to experiment. And so that's why, I have a Microsoft To-Do app, I use that. I throw all my wacky ideas in there and I kind of pick little things to work on and research and experiment with. And so there are some doom and gloom things because we have a lot of stupid people in the world that will just plug it in to see what will happen. But I'm also on the other side. This is no better opportunity to, fulfill a dream you might have, right? very few people will get unchained from the man's ball working at a large company, right? You have to venture out on your own and create your own stake to become, if you will, almost financially independent, right? And so you can be a good steward with your money and save all the time, which nobody in this state does, right? We give it all away on taxes and Teslas. It's awesome. And so your only way to do that is to create something new that nobody else has created. And the best thing about software, there's really no new software ideas in the last 30 years. Do you really see anything new? Maybe just a new coat of paint, right? The mobile phone is just a PC that's smaller with little apps on it that interact nice. And AI is actually new. But AI gives us the ability to throw out 20, 30 years of bad code and ideas and solo interaction with the computer. And I think these AI layers or agents allows us to create a whole new industry of opportunity. And so, I don't know where you are in your politics side. I really don't care. But with the whole new administration, and when he gets up there and he says it's going to be a golden age, I'm there with him. I think it's going to be a golden age of AI.
That's a good note to leave it on.
Right on.
Patrick Husting from Ghostwriter AI, thanks very much for getting us started this year.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
I will link from the show notes to everything, including ghostwriter-ai.com and everything else that Patrick does. And that is this week's show. Curt Milton edited and produced this week's show. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop, and we'll be back next week with a new episode of the GeekWire podcast.